is affirmative prayer? How can you use it? Why should you use it? Hi, Mark Gilbert here, and for the next few minutes, I want to offer my thoughts on these questions. In my video on the overview to the philosophy of the science of mind, I pointed out that it was designed to be practical, to give you practices that could help you improve your life, and that two of those practices, affirmations and affirmative prayer, were specifically designed to help you change your thoughts and consciousness. To benefit fully from the information here in this video, you might want to go review the videos on the science of mind and the one on affirmations and visualizations first. Okay, let's get to it. So what is affirmative prayer? Simply stated, it's a prayer where you're directing your thoughts and your use of consciousness towards a desired purpose. It's not a prayer where you're beseeching a God outside yourself to intervene in your life and your world. Instead, you're communing with this divine presence that moves in and through you, and using that power and presence to affirm and know you're good. You're not forcing anything to happen. Affirmative prayer is a movement within your own consciousness so that you can know and claim your greatest good. Simply stated, affirmative prayer is you knowing that you are one with all, and that within this oneness, you have access to the highest and best possibilities for your life. It is you sensing and knowing mentally and emotionally that this greatest good is yours now. Science of Mind founder Ernest Holmes taught two methods of affirmative prayer. One called realization, the other called argumentative. We'll come back to the realization method in a moment, but for now I want to stress the argumentative method, as it's the one most commonly used. Now it's called the argumentative method because in a sense, you're arguing with yourself in an attempt to convince yourself and your consciousness of your greater truth. As we all know, the outer world in which we live our days can be quite mesmerizing and convincing. As we experience the physical world, we tend to make judgments about what we'd like to experience and compare it against what we're experiencing in the moment. Generally, there's a gap between our desires and our experience. We want more money. We want more love, more friends, more experiences, more anything and everything than we're currently seeing in our lives. We may even feel a sense of personal lack of self-worth and think we don't deserve a great life. The bottom line is we want what we sense we don't have. And so for us to affirm a truth that we are currently not experiencing, we have to basically argue with ourselves and convince ourselves that our real reality is different from the temporary state of affairs we're experiencing. Now, I realize that when you first approach affirmative prayer, it sounds like you're lying to yourself. How can I say that love or money is in my life now when that's not my current state of affairs? But I want you to deeply get it that your affirmation is not really a lie. You're stating the truth of what is the higher possibility for your life. You're turning your consciousness and attention away from what the current condition is and stating the truth of what is available to you right now. You don't have to know exactly how it will manifest. You simply have to know that it's available in the big mind of the divine right now. This argumentative method has 5 basic steps to it. They're generally called by the following names: recognition, unification, realization, thanksgiving, and release. But knowing these names is not as important as knowing what you're doing at each step in the process. Now, briefly, in recognition, you're recognizing that the power and presence of the One is in everything. In unification, you're knowing that you, as an individual, are unified in that oneness. In realization, you're realizing your truth. This is where you're claiming your greater good, using your affirmative statements. In thanksgiving, you're expressing gratitude. Gratitude for the gifts that you know are flowing into your life and for this truth and this ability to use affirmative prayer. And in release, you're simply letting go of the affirmative prayer, knowing that it's done, that you're not going to keep holding on to it and arguing with yourself and still be thinking that it might not occur. Okay, let's make those 5 steps even simpler still. The first 2 steps are where you're convincing yourself that everything is one and you're a part of that oneness. Personally, to me, these are the 2 most important steps, because if you haven't gotten into a sense within your own consciousness that you and all are one and that it's flowing in and through you, then you'll have a hard time believing the rest of your affirmative prayer. Some part of you is going to be going, yeah, right. And those very thoughts that question the process will undermine the effectiveness of your prayer. After you sense the oneness in the first 2 steps, then you're simply basically providing affirmations like we discussed in that video. Then you're giving thanks and you're letting go. Now, here's a quick sample affirmative prayer to see how it flows. I know there is only one God, one power, one divine force. And I know that that power and essence is within me and that I am one with it. And in that knowing, I know this truth: the greatest and highest good is occurring in my life right now. I know that this video is being easily understood by all who view it. I know that prosperity and abundance and right action fill my life now. And I give thanks for all of this now. And I let it go, knowing that it's done. And so it is. Simple. When you're first starting out with these argumentative prayers, I suggest you write them out to help you gain clarity. And as you practice, you won't have to do that. Check my website for some examples of other video prayers, as well as links to others that are written out. Now let's turn to the other kind of affirmative prayer I mentioned earlier, realization. In a sense, it's easier to describe, but it's harder to do. With this method, you don't have to go through all these steps to convince yourself. Instead, you simply go to that place where you know and sense your perfection, your oneness, and know your greatest truth. You know that in your consciousness what is really real beyond the physical. And there you just know the truth, the greater good. That's it. That's all realization is. A little harder to do. So in closing, what's happening here in these affirmative prayers? As we discussed in our video on Science of Mind, our thoughts, conscious and subconscious, move through a creative medium that's everywhere present in the universe and acts upon our thoughts so as to create and manifest our lives. If our thoughts are negative, we tend to create negative outcomes. If our thoughts are positive, we tend to create positive outcomes. However, in many cases, our thoughts tend to be mixed. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative, leading us to experience mixed outcomes in our physical life. So what affirmations and visualizations and affirmative prayer do is shift our thoughts. At first, in our conscious awareness towards the positive and what we desire to experience. And then the more that we convince ourselves, we can also reprogram our subconscious thoughts as well. Continued practice over time leads us to creating more and more consistent, positive thoughts, leading us to experiencing a greater and greater life here on Earth. Again, see the website for more resources and other videos with some sample affirmative prayers. Blessings.